Hi guys, this is my video for Friday, May 1st. It's May Day today. And so just happy May. Also today, 2 weeks from today is like the end of school kind of. 2 weeks from today is like the last day you'll get homework assigned. And then that next Monday, as long as you have everything done, you get to turn in your book. So that's pretty exciting. First of all, if you have a library book, like from the Faith Library, I'm going to be sending out emails next week, reminding you to turn those in when you come back to school to turn in your stuff. Also, if you have like a Christy Miller book, or you know how I have those books behind my desk on that like darker shelf, if you have one of those books, will you just send me a quick email saying which books you have? Like Katie, Christy, any of those, just because I want to make sure I know where those are, because I'm a little nervous about getting those all back. So it's not that I don't trust you guys, but I want to make sure I get them back because they're my favorites and like my personal books. So just kind of send me an email with what books you have, and that way I can kind of know what's happening and where books are and stuff. So yeah, those of you who are reading novels, you'll also bring those back on the 18th. So just hang on to them for now, and we will get those all back. I'll have like a checklist or something. Okay, so I forgot. There is a winner for the cupcake competition. I gotta open the slideshow thing I sent to you guys because I believe I know who the winner is, but I don't remember who was where. Okay, so cupcake winner will get $5, which is pretty exciting. And the winning cupcake is, drumroll. That's a terrible drumroll. I don't have you guys to help me. That's a bummer. Okay, so the winning cupcake is cupcake number 3. Here are the pictures of it. I almost knocked over my phone. And so that person is Lexi Heaney. So Lexi, I will be mailing you $5 in the next couple days. So be looking out for that because that's pretty exciting. And then you can kind of go get whatever you want with those $5. I know it's not like $1 million or $20 or anything, but it's still money. So this week's challenge, remember, is the trick shot challenge. And I'm trying to figure out exactly how to do that where you guys can vote. So I need you guys to send, if possible, the best thing I think you could do is post it to YouTube and then send me the link. And then on Wednesday, like next week, I will send out all of the links that I have. I think that's the best way we're going to have to do it. I know it's not ideal. If you cannot get it posted to YouTube, you can always attempt to send it to me. I know someone tried to send it to me, and it didn't want to go through because it was a big file. So, I think that's the best way we're going to have to do it, unfortunately. Yeah. And I tried to like think of one that I could do, and I have like 0 skills. You guys know this. Like the coolest skill I have is that like I can usually throw the toilet roll from the toilet to the garbage. So that's all I got. You know, like I change the toilet roll and just throw it, and you know, that's all I got. So yeah, and nobody needs to see me film me throwing a toilet roll into the garbage. It's not exciting. So yeah. But if you guys, I'm sure you guys have way better skills. I know some people have been working on it. So yeah, just post it to YouTube. I do have a video on my YouTube channel of how to post a YouTube video if you need help with that. There is a video. So there you go. So noon Monday, I need the links because I'm going to do that on Wednesday of next week. So I'm so excited to see these because I think it's going to be fun and awesome. Also, when talking with the juniors and seniors on our Zoom meeting, they had a ton of ideas of new challenges, which is super fun. And so what I think I'm going to do, if you guys are wanting to do it, I'm okay with it, is that I think we could just do it through May. So like if you are like going to be home bored during the whole month of May, let's just do challenges every week. Because I think, you know, it gives us something to look forward to. Now, if you're like, I don't want to do it, then just don't do it. And I'll send out videos and stuff for you guys to vote. Yeah, if anyone is like super excited about that, maybe send me a note so you guys, I know you guys are excited about that. Another thing I could do through the month of May is I could do videos like Monday announcing the challenge, Wednesday with the challenge from the week before, and I would be willing to do the podcast if you guys want me to on Fridays, but just let me know, okay? I want to know what you guys want, because I just, you know, I like, I know some of you are enjoying these, so just let me know you know, that you guys like it, because I don't mind doing it. So, all right, today is podcast day. We are switching it to Fridays because Wednesdays are now our challenge days. So, here are 3 stories. By the way, they're all on presidential assassination attempts. They're pretty cool. So I hope you guys like these. So story number 1 is flying is tough without a pilot. Story number 2 is the killer phone call, bro. And story number 3 is when all else fails, blame Elvis. So those are the 3 stories. I'm going to go kind of quickly because I don't want you to be stuck watching me for 30 minutes or anything. Okay, so story number 1, flying is tough without a pilot. So this takes place with President Nixon. Here's a little background. He had to resign because of a scandal that he was involved in. And so obviously he received a lot of threats from everyone because people are kind of angry and upset with him because of his decisions. And there was a guy named Samuel Bick. He was a truck driver. He was in poverty pretty much his whole life. He also struggled a lot with just different issues. His wife had divorced him. He was just poor. And so he started sending letters to the White House and to other people, like random people. I'll talk about some of those in a minute. He also recorded messages and were sending out like threatening messages. He sent to a scientist. I believe it was a scientist who did the polio vaccine, but I can't quite remember. But it was somebody who did like a vaccine. So like, why would you send a threatening letter to him? He also sent it to a composer. At one point, he tried to join the Black Panthers. By the way, he's a white guy, he's Jewish, and he was actually told no, he couldn't join the White Panthers, which is kind of funny. And the Secret Service was aware of him because of these letters and the things he was sending, but they deemed him not a threat. They just thought he was crazy, but they didn't think he was, you know, he was going to actually follow through on anything. But in February of 1974, he showed up at the Baltimore, D.C. airport. And back then, this is obviously way pre 9/11, and so there wasn't really like a whole lot of security. You went through security, but you got to go all the way to where people were boarding, so like where they're waiting to get on the plane. That's why in a lot of like older movies and TV shows, it shows people like in love running through the airport trying to stop the person they love from boarding. That was all 9/11, like pre 9/11. That's why they could do that. Just so you know, in case you're like, why do they, you know, that used to be a thing. So anyway, he shows up at this airport, and he actually goes all the way to where they're boarding a plane. He kind of goes and finds the next one that seems to be taking off, and he shoots the security guard that's standing by where they're boarding. He boards the plane, and he holds it hostage. And his plan is he's going to hijack the plane, and he's going to have the pilots fly it into the White House so they can kill Nixon. The pilots, though, were like, the plane is not ready. We have to radio to the tower to take off. Obviously, Samuel Bick is like, no, we're not doing that. We're not going to radio in, you know, you'll just tell them, you know, what's going on, that kind of thing. And the pilots kept saying, we can't, you know, we're still on the blocks. I think it's what they call their bricks. We can't just go. We have to have outside help. And he kept yelling, just take off. We have to go. You know, we're going to do this. And the pilots say they can't. So he comes up with a genius plan and just shoots both of the pilots. So obviously they can't fly the plane. So he finds the flight attendant and decides, you need to go and fly the plane. Well, first of all, she's a flight attendant. She like knows a lot about planes, but she doesn't know how to fly a plane. I'm assuming it's a she. It might be a he, but they didn't say. But anyway, so he keeps yelling and screaming at the flight attendant. She says, first of all, we can't take off anyway. The plane is not ready. At this point, the police had already swarmed around the plane, thankfully, because otherwise that might not have been good for that flight attendant. And he is standing in the cockpit, and they are able to shoot him through the cockpit, and he ends up dying, and so do the both of those pilots. It sounded like the security guard was okay, but both of the pilots unfortunately die, and so does Samuel Bick. So that is the end of story number 1, which was called Flying is Tough Without a Pilot. I love that he shoots the pilots, and then it's like to the flight attendant, okay, go, we need to go. And she's like, I can't fly the plane. All right, anyway, story number 2 is the killer phone call, bro. This is during the presidency of George H.W. Bush. He was president starting in 1988. He is the one, technically they ended the Cold War during his presidency. And this is the big thing for him. He's kind of stuck in the shadow of Ronald Reagan, because Ronald Reagan was a great president. He did a lot of amazing things. And then George H.W. Bush comes along, and there's just not a lot happening for the poor guy. And yeah, he's just kind of stuck because there was a great president, and then he's stuck right behind him. I'm going to mute that because I don't know if you can hear that. But anyway, and he made a lot of promises when he was running for president. He promised no taxes. He ended up adding taxes because we go into a depression during this time. Not a depression, a recession. Sorry. Depression is way worse than that. Anyway, also during his presidency was the Gulf War. So that's just a little background of kind of what's going on. So there was this guy named Harold Slicer. He was 48 years old. He was a steel factory worker. He voted for Bush. He liked Bush, and he went to a rally when Bush was running for president. There was a protest during this rally because of some involvement in Latin America. I'm not going to get into all of that, but it was kind of a surprise protest. You know, the president, well, the hopefully future president, you know, is there, George H.W. Bush, and they go in as supporters, and then they just start yelling and protesting. Unfortunately for Slicer, he was standing right next to them, Harold Slicer. He gets escorted out and told he has to leave, even though he's not, you know, a supporter of them. He takes it personally, gets angry and upset, but he does still vote for George H.W. Bush. Now, the only other thing is things start to get bad for Harold Slicer. Remember, that was 1988. It's now 1989. Harold Slicer loses his job at the steel factory. In 1990, they foreclosed on his house, so he lost his house. And he starts kind of obsessively sending, I don't know if I'd call it obsessively. He sends 6 letters to the White House, and he calls 14 different times. He keeps saying, please let me talk to Bush. I need to talk to Bush. Like they're going to just let the president talk on the phone to some random person. He sends letters. No one responds, and he loses it. He is done. He loses his mind, and yeah. So he starts blaming the president, Bush. And so he decides that he is going to bomb the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Now you're like, why there? Well, Bush was going to be there for a speech that he was giving. Obviously, Slicer kind of looked that up to find out when he was going to be there. And so he does a tour of the museum the day before Bush. And he plants a bomb in a plant. So he plants it in a plant. Remember, he worked at a steel factory, so he knows how to make like I think they called it a steel pipe bomb. I think that's right. A pipe bomb. That's what it is. So anyway, he sets a timer for 24 hours, and then he leaves. He goes home, and the next day, this is so funny to me, he calls the White House and says, I bombed the museum. I did it. And then, you know, you're going to have to deal with all of this, you know, all the consequences and whatever of your actions. And he thinks he's anonymous. He doesn't say who it is. He just says, I did it. Well, this is the thing. The White House has a program. I bet they do for all of them. Anyway, back then, the White House, what they did is they would monitor anyone who calls more than once. So if you call the White House multiple times, they started monitoring your phone. Well, Harold Slicer doesn't know that. And so, was it Harold? Yeah, Harold. Sorry, I forgot his first name. So he doesn't know that. And so he calls saying, like, I planted the bomb, and they had a tracking thing on the phones, and so they totally knew who he was. The bomb doesn't even work, and so he goes to jail and for a bomb that he planted that didn't even do anything. We actually don't even know, because he planted it in the foyer of the museum, and like the guy who does the podcast said, like, we don't even know that his speech was going to be in that room. He just kind of guessed it was going to be in that room. But anyway, so he was, I don't know if you can hear that. My dog is like dreaming, and she's making barking noises in her sleep. But anyway, I don't know if you could hear that. But anyway, so he gets put in jail for life, and he actually died, unfortunately, in 2012. So that's story number 2, which is Killer Phone Call Bureau. I think that's so funny. Call the White House. I did it, and they tracked the phone. I'm sure now that they track every phone call because it's 2020. So, all right, the last story, number 3, is When All Else Fails, Blame Elvis. This one's pretty good. I like it. Actually, I like all the stories, but I think they're pretty interesting this week. I love, like, every Monday I go and check and see, like, what's the theme for the week. It's so fun. You know, it's the little things when you're stuck at home. Okay, so story number 3, when all else fails, blame Elvis. So this is during the presidency of Barack Obama, which was from 2009 to 2017. So all of you should have been alive during his presidency, which is pretty cool. Now, this is the thing that we know about President Obama. He actually had 400% more death threats than any other president. I wonder if that's still true with our current president. I'm just curious. But anyway, so this takes place in April 2013. The Secret Service finds letters that have been sent to different places in DC. They are laced with a poison, a poison, called ricin. And they all include like this rambling note. It doesn't seem to make sense. The thing about ricin is it's hard to detect. And then one gets sent to a judge in Mississippi. Now, the one that gets sent to Mississippi had some extra evidence. He didn't go into detail what that evidence was, but there was enough evidence that they could figure out who it was. And it is done by a guy named Paul Curtis. Paul Curtis was an Elvis impersonator for his job. He did other impersonations, but that was the main one. I think that's really funny. But anyway, so he was arrested. He claimed he was innocent. He had nothing to do with it. And they went through his house. There was no ricin in his house. There was no evidence of anything that they were charging him with. But they do learn about an online feud he had with a man named Everett Dutschke. I want to make his name right. Everett Dutschke. Now, Everett Dutschke and this, what was his name? Sorry. Paul Curtis got into like a huge argument online. They kept sending messages back and forth. Everett Dutschke claimed he was a genius. They keep going back and forth. I think it was kind of like a I'm smarter than you were kind of thing. And so Curtis saved stuff from the argument, and it was enough that they decided to look into Dutschke. So they go to Dutschke's house and they actually find evidence in his house. So they bring him in. And they find out that he is the one who actually sent all the letters. And the reason that he did it is he told Curtis, sorry, can't remember their names. He told Curtis that he was so smart, he would be able to frame him. So the only reason he did all of this wasn't because he like hated Obama or any of the other people he sent letters to. It was actually because he wanted to prove to the Elvis guy, Curtis, how smart he was by framing him. And I guess he was pretty smart because he did frame him, kind of. But he kind of failed because Curtis didn't have any evidence at his house. So Curtis is let go. He is freed because he didn't do it. And this Dutschke guy ended up charged with 25 years in prison, and he is still serving his time. So those are the 3 stories. Flying is Tough Without a Pilot, Killer Phone Call Bro, and When All Else Fails, Blame Elvis. All right, so I'm going to give you like 10 seconds. Make your decision what you think is the false story. Which one is the lie? Okay, here we go. Story number 3. When all else fails, blame Elvis. That is totally true. It happened. You can look it up online. It's kind of interesting. All right, so now we have Flying is Tough Without a Pilot and then the Killer Phone Call Bro. All right, so story number 2, Killer Phone Call Bro, totally false. That one did not happen. I know it kind of seemed like the plane one probably didn't happen. That did, which is funny because obviously Samuel Bick is, who shoots a pilot and then tells a flight attendant to fly the plane. So yeah, hopefully you got it right. I actually did this week. I don't get them right very often, but I did this time. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great weekend. It's supposed to be beautiful on Saturday. I'm going to spend some time outside. So hopefully you guys do too. And I will see you all back here in these videos on Monday. And then Monday, I'm going to announce the new challenge for next week. So I haven't decided which one. I got 4 or 5 ideas. So yeah, I'm looking forward to next week. And I hope you guys all have a great weekend, and let me know if you need any help or whatever. So see you guys later. Have a good day. Bye.